Hey guys, thanks for joining again, Contest Prep University. I'm Joe Klemczewski here with Adam Atkinson. And last time, Adam, we left off talking about back loads. This time I want to move into front loading a little bit as a peaking strategy. And I have to say, I think, I might have been the first one to ever do this, and it wasn't necessarily just to have something different, but I always thought, when you deplete somebody incredibly heavily, which we didn't even talk about in the last episode because I don't think that's the thing to do, but you end up almost irreparably getting them flat and super carb sensitive. So I thought, why not at the beginning of the week, find that glycogen ceiling, find a way to where they're really, really full, then we can taper off a little bit so they're not spilling over, and then we can time it a little bit easier. So a lot of people started using that method maybe 15 or 20 years ago when I was working very heavily with some of the first clients in the contest prep game. And now it's become something a little bit more sophisticated. So explain to the audience, if you don't mind, how you perceive a front load.
Yeah. So a lot of times when I front load a client, it might be a ectomorph, somebody who I'm worried about getting full enough on the show day. So the beginning of the week ends up being very high. And a lot of times recovering from training, you always have to keep the training aspect in sight too, with how much energy they're expending, but keeping calories higher. And then once you find that full ceiling where you're happy with, you just kind of manage the peak from there. And you can, go up or down as needed. Again, not being married to the idea of what type of load you're doing, adjusting to the client, but initially keeping that height and then kind of managing from there. I've found that this has been great for some of my clients that have very fast metabolisms.
And then do you end up staying pretty high? Like once you've reached that glycogen ceiling, you might see a little bit of softness or spilling over. Then do you just really, keep it there? We're just managing it so they're not spilled over?
Yeah, more so managing that carb level and just making sure that they stay full enough, and we don't be too cautious where we're dropping calories down so low that then we have to catch back up and almost, nearly backload into the peak at the last minute. And one of the biggest things with those clients is looking at that night photo and really seeing how much fullness they have after all that food. And sometimes with a front load client with a fast metabolism, you have to take them up to where they look a little softer at night, probably to a point where you're a little uncomfortable, because when they wake up in the morning, you just see that they're super tight, but then again, they're also super flat as well.
Right. That was one of the things I ran into. Like you said, you could end up, tapering off so much that now you're kind of backloading. Now you have so many variables going in two directions. You've almost spilled over a little bit. Now you've pulled back. Now you're trying to catch back up. And that creates such a timing issue that's why I ended up really defining the progressive linear load, which we'll talk about in the next episode. But, it really is. I'm glad you said that you really have to almost get to the point where you're keeping them just on that edge of spilling over so that they can wake up on contest morning. And, we just briefly touched on this in the last episode, but if you have the glycogen levels full enough the day before the show, 2 days before the show, you don't have to risk over-carbing them on contest day, because really carbs you're using on contest day, you can't assimilate fully. So you're really not getting the benefit in the muscle tissue, but you risk spilling over. I'm sure you've run into that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen plenty of clients backstage eating these crazy meals that have not even, probably weren't even on their prep in the first place. So it's a risk just with that carb level and making sure it gets into the muscle tissue, which it probably won't, as you and I both know. But also, if they haven't eaten a food like, let's say, pancakes or something like that, that seems to be one coaches throw out there, they could have some really negative GI response to that food, especially if they've never eaten it before.
Exactly. So thanks, guys. Stay with us. In the next episode, we're going to talk about the undulating load and the progressive linear load. So we will catch you guys next time.